and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device. I don't think they're going to win.
I agree.
Yeah, they won't. They're not going to win. It's just ridiculous.
We're fans, so that means they won't win.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Locker Room. It is Wednesday when we're recording this, September 23rd, 2020. Folks, this podcast will be live by noon on Thursday, September 24th, 2020. This is the first sports podcast of the Locker Room. I want to thank everybody for listening to it on our website here, loggerroom.com, LAGERROOM.com. And, of course, all of our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of our social media, which is at The Locker Room. All the same. With me today is none other than the maestro himself, RadioPete. Say hi, RadioPete.
Hi, RadioPete.
There he is.
That joke never gets old.
That joke never gets old. No matter how many times we do it, it never gets old.
Never gets new either. But.
It doesn't get any newer at all. No, not at all. And, folks, once again, Harry Lugnuts, the third in our triumvirate, could not be with us tonight. He got tied up in a meeting. He will be with us next week and maybe even before, but he will not be in this podcast. Although we will make mention of him several times, and he will be doing picks later. More on that later in the show.
I'm currently drawing a humorous caricature of him as we speak.
I think that's an awesome idea, and I think we should put it up on the website, or at least on Facebook and Instagram.
We'll put it up. Should take me about 2 weeks to finish, but then we'll put it up.
Absolutely. Now, is that based on his? Is it based on his profile picture on our website, on the host's page of the website, or is it based on your preconceived notion of what he actually looks like?
Well, I want to base it largely on his demeanor, tone of voice, the things he says, but we haven't been on a podcast yet. So I'm going to just do a rough outline now, based on what I imagine he looks like. And then once we have some conversation, I guess see if we do the podcast, I'll have to keep my eyes closed so I don't look at him.
There you go.
Or maybe he could wear a mask.
He can wear the mask.
Yeah. So then so the caricature is going to be based on what he says and how he says it and sort of that sort of thing.
Very interesting. All right. That works for me. Well, we got a lot to talk about tonight. This is definitely this past weekend was definitely an interesting weekend. It was week 2 of the NFL season. We a lot of bad things happened this weekend. A lot of bad things. Just horrible play around the league. Horrible play with our teams, mine and RadioPete's team himself. And it's just horrible what has happened with all these injuries. It's insane. I don't think there's never been in the history of the NFL. There's never been a weekend that saw this many not this many injuries, but this many severe injuries, season-ending injuries, if you will. Have any comment on that, Pete?
Well, I was going to ask you actually if you feel like it has something to do with the fact that we're in the middle of a pandemic and teams had no preseason, and I would think guys are in shape, of course, but in shape and game shape are two different things. So how much of that is the cause of these injuries? Because otherwise it's just an amazing number of coincidences. And I guess, they're big names. And of course, I guess you would say, well, they're big names. We know their names because they get hurt and it's all over the news, so we know them. But, I mean, these are stalwart players, linchpin players for the teams. Not, some guy who blew out his ACL who's on the kickoff coverage team. You know what I mean? These are
frontline. These are
the best, the 1 and 2 best running backs, arguably, in the NFL right now.
The 2 best running backs in the NFL are out. One for the season, one for 4 to 6 weeks minimum, and it's insane to think that. And one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. And more. I mean, it's just the list goes on and on. I tend to agree with you. I think it honestly does have something to do, not necessarily with the pandemic and anything like that, but specifically with the fallout from the pandemic and the lack of a preseason and the lack of a sufficient and efficient training camp. It definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said game shape. Yes, of course they're in shape. They're all in shape. They always stay in shape. They're multi-million-dollar players, and of course that's their craft. They're gonna stay in shape so they can be able to get into game shape, but they weren't able to get into game shape. And yeah, I would say that with fingers crossed and a little bit of luck. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll see a downtrot on the injury list, but that doesn't help with what has already happened. The list goes on and on. I mean, Nick Bosa from the 49ers, defensive end, he's torn ACL, he's out for the season. Saquon Barkley, Giants running back, torn ACL, out for the season. Christian McCaffrey, Carolina Panthers running back, high ankle sprain. He's out 4 to 6 weeks minimum. I'm sure they'll try and rush him back, and I'm sure he's going to want to play next week, but it's a high ankle sprain. Who knows what that happens. Drew Lock, he's got a shoulder injury, and the list goes on and on. Cortland Sutton, both Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton from the Denver Broncos. Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're talking to quarterback, starting quarterback and frontline wide receiver, and Cortland Sutton's out. He's torn ACL. He's out for the season. Drew Lock may be back with a little luck he will. I don't know what the prognosis on how severe it is. It's a sprained AC joint.
I haven't heard any timetable for him.
I haven't heard any timetable for him either. Jimmy Garoppolo, high ankle sprain.
Right, Garoppolo was the one I was trying to remember. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, if you lose Garoppolo and Bosa, you got to feel cursed.
It's almost the 49ers lose Garoppolo and Bosa, and the 49ers also lost another defensive lineman.
Yeah, it's unusual. I mean, you would think. I mean, strictly speaking, you would say, well, they haven't played preseason games, so they ought to be, so they're not beat up from that. But let's face it, the starters don't play that much for any of those games, particularly if you have 4 preseason games. Or I get 4 or 5 or whatever it is. They don't play very much, certainly in the last couple.
Sure.
Last game they maybe play a quarter, right? Then all your scrubs are in because they don't want guys to get hurt. So you think, well, they're even fresher now because they haven't played any downs, they haven't played any games. But I think it's almost an intangible. It's like you got to get beat up a little bit. You got to have contact.
You got to have contact.
A lot of what they're saying about some of these teams is they're like some teams are able to maybe train a little bit better or maybe if they're more experienced, but you can't go out there. Some of these teams didn't really have even practices where they were really hitting. And how do you get ready to go? How do you get ready to crank up and go into a game where you're then expected to just turn it on, go full speed? Everybody's fast, everybody's big, everybody's strong, and it's like you've been playing touch for the past month and a half.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden bodies are banging together. And you're not physically ready. You haven't gotten warmed up, so to speak. It's like a boxer who, goes into the ring. You look at these guys, they're warmed up, they're sweating, they're ready to go. They're not walking in there cold. So automatically, they don't just stretch out the old biceps. You want to get warmed up. Same thing with football. You want to get hitting. You want to have contact. You want to be ready. And being unable to do that, you'd have to think that would have something to do with these injuries. And it will be interesting to see if, as the weeks go on, that we will not, and then it could just be coincidence too, but we will see sort of a dropping of the number of injuries as these guys kind of get warmed up and get into game shape. Intuitively, it doesn't really make sense. but I think it's kind of an intangible. You got to get out. You got to be hit.
You got to be hit.
You get out there and do it for the money.
You can't be hit by your own lineman. You can't be hit by your own team. Your own offense, starting offense, can't be hit by your own starting defense. And I know it's a little bit of a replacement for it, but it doesn't replace it. It's just not the same thing. You definitely need that intangible. You need that. You need to get hit. And even if it is only one series or two series or one quarter during the 4 preseason games each, it means a lot. I think it is definitely a factor. I mean, it could just be a really horribly bad coincidence that all of this happened on the same day. But I definitely think that it has something, albeit maybe not everything, but something to do with that.
I think it's a factor.
It's definitely. Solomon Thomas, by the way, is the other defensive lineman. Plus, they also lost Raheem Mostert, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's out for a bit with, the 49ers just got decimated. I mean,
what a horrible day to be a 49er fan.
Bad. I mean, you're in the Super Bowl last year. First time in 7 years, and you lost it, and then haven't won a Super Bowl in 25 years.
Half a dozen players down in week 2.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're not feeling, as a Giant fan, you're not feeling too sorry for him.
I'm not feeling too sorry. I mean, I feel really bad for Saquon. Said it before. All the best to Saquon. Hope you come back. He's a young guy. He's going to come back.
Yeah, we'll see you next year.
I'll tell you this: the team is in a rebuilding period. They weren't doing anything this year. The Giants weren't going anywhere this year. Maybe 11 wins in the last, or 12 wins in the last 3 years. They weren't going anywhere this year. It's a rebuilding year. They're a year or two away. If there was a year, if he had to get hurt, this was the year for him to get hurt. I wish he didn't have to get hurt. I'm sure he wishes he didn't have to get hurt. No one wishes anybody has to get hurt. But bottom line is, he'll get the surgery. He'll come back stronger, and the team around him hopefully will be, well, not hopefully, they'll be another year closer to gelling, and hopefully good things will happen next year. We'll see what happens. But that brings me to the other team in the Meadowlands in MetLife Stadium. What's going on with the Jets, Pete?
Oh, well, you're using the word team there pretty loosely. They're terrible. They're the Jets. Before I get to the Jets, I'll just say this about Saquon. This is year 3, right?
This is year 3 for Saquon, yes.
We know what the general lifespan of a running back is.
Yep.
You can say on average, the average is like 5 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's guys that go a lot longer than that.
Sure.
You just don't have that many years to waste because you never know what's going to happen. And the rookie contract is, 5 years?
Rookie contract's 5 years, so yeah. So
you got 2 more years after this. And you don't know how Daniel Jones' development is going to be without Saquon. It's going to be a lot tougher. He's going to be throwing the ball all the time, which maybe apparently he was going to throw the ball all the time anyway. So, but you don't have too many years to waste. And if they don't, they've got to get it together and do something because Saquon may not want to stay.
This is true. And to be honest with you, if I were him and he came back and he goes through his 4th and his 5th year and he's playing at the level he's playing at and they're still nowhere near, you know what? Even as bleeding blue as I do, I'd be out of there.
And you couldn't blame him for it,
Not at all. No, I wouldn't.
I mean, look, the book is promising things for Daniel Jones. I'll say that, but the book is still open on him.
Yeah.
And this is only his 2nd year. He's still got growing to do, and you have to make sure that he's not going to start to develop those bad habits like his counterpart on the gangrene there is going to do now. So yeah, I mean, if they don't get it together, you couldn't blame Saquon for walking.
No, you couldn't. As far as Daniel Jones goes, just make mention. I've said it before, obviously not on this podcast, but he to me is Eli Manning. He's Eli Manning. I mean, with a twist. Obviously, he's much more mobile than Eli Manning ever was. Yeah. But other than that, as a quarterback himself, he's Eli Manning. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that I think Eli Manning was a great quarterback, and I do think Eli Manning is going to be in the Hall of Fame. But and that's another story for another day, another debate, yes or no. We'll bring other people in on that one. But regardless of that, what I mean by that is Eli Manning played at an elite level for most of the 16 years that he played. But when he played well, it was because he had people around him. When you put the people around him, he played at a ridiculously high level. And I think you're going to see the same thing with Daniel Jones. That's what I mean by that. That's where I'm going with that. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's my take on it. You give him a solid brick wall. You give him what Eli had back in 2007, back in 2011, in front of him. You give him the weapons that he already has. I mean, Darius Slayton has emerged to be an amazing wide receiver. Sterling Shepard's no slouch, but he's got to stay healthy. Same thing goes for Evan Ingram. Golden Tate, he's coming back from an injury, and he's on the downside of 30.
Yeah, how many more years are going to get out of Golden Tate?
How many years? Yeah, exactly. They have him after this year. They have him for another 2. I think they had a 4-year contract last year on him. But they've always had the weapons around him, and of course Saquon. That goes without saying. But you give him the line in front of him. You give him a little more time so that he doesn't have to worry about that ball control, and he doesn't have to worry about being the turnover machine that he has become in the last, year and change since he's been there. And you give him a defense that actually stops the other team from scoring once in a while so that they can actually win some games. And you have Eli Manning, basically. An Eli Manning that's mobile. That's my take on it anyway. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's got skills. I think he's got the tools to succeed. You got to give him a better line, though. I heard somebody on the radio talking the other day, and they were saying, when's the last time the Giants had a great offensive line? A really great offensive line.
07.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. 07, they had a really great. I mean, nothing beats the
offensive.
Nothing beats the offensive line that they had back in the 80s and early 90s. And I'm Jumbo Elliott and Roberts and everybody else back then. But
that's one of the nice things about Daniel Jones is that he does have that mobility.
Right.
So, but you got to give him a little bit more than he's got now. And look, as far as the end of that, what was it? The interception against Pittsburgh in Week 1. Right in the end of the game. He's still a second-year guy. He's going to make those kind of mistakes. If you're a Giant fan, you should be happy because I think he's definitely. I think he is your quarterback of the future.
Yeah, no, he is.
Forget about whether he was the right place to draft him or not. They should have waited or whatever. I think he's good. Give him a better line, improve the line, and he's got some tools around him, and I think you'll be happy with him. Look, if he's Eli Manning and he gets you a couple Super Bowls. You'll sign for that right now.
Nobody's complaining. I'll sign off on that right now.
All right, Gangrene, they're absolutely horrible. They've got a coach that doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Their star offensive back is hurt and is gone after this season anyway. Mm-hmm. And they're going to ruin Sam Darnold, who probably could be a good quarterback. And he might walk if they don't trade him. At the end of his contract, if they don't trade him before that, he'll go somewhere else and get the support and the help that he needs, and probably turn into a pretty decent quarterback. If he stays with the Jets, they'll just ruin him. Same old. What else can you say? They're terrible from top to bottom. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing there as far as the people running, from ownership. I don't know what Adam Gase sprayed in the room when he went into the interview, some sort of magic dust that make people believe in him. Maybe, he might have been high at that introductory press conference, and maybe he pulled out a fatty and smoked it with the Johnsons, and they were like, yeah, man, I love this guy. Who knows what the hell happened for him to get that job and to get control of the team, but he's just horrible.
Yeah, he's absolutely horrible.
You can't be this bad now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not at this point. If this was his first year, or he'd been out of coaching for 5 years or something like that, okay, shaking off the rust.
Right.
Got to get. No, this is not your first rodeo. It's not your first team. We know what happened with your first team.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a reputation he doesn't deserve. I think we talked about this during the first teaser. What did he ever do? He had one good season in Miami, and all of a sudden people are thinking he's a guru and he's the quarterback whisperer. I don't think he's done anything to deserve the reputation. So he talked a good game, and like I said, the magic fairy dust or whatever it is he did to sell himself, He did an amazing job, but he seems out of his element. And the people that hired him and run the team and own the team, whose last name is Johnson, the clueless. Clueless. Absolutely clueless.
I completely agree with clueless. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I don't understand what Chris Johnson or anybody else in that organization was thinking hiring Adam Gase. And you know what? Peyton Manning's endorsement of him or not, to me, Peyton Manning's endorsement of him would maybe have gotten him the job as quarterback's coach. So I don't understand what they were thinking hiring him for that role.
Just refresh my memory. How many years did Adam Gase coach Peyton Manning?
2, was it? 1 or 2?
Yeah, and
keep in mind, Peyton Manning was already Peyton Manning when Adam Gase got together with him in Denver.
And they're an embarrassment.
It's ridiculous.
You could legitimately say there's no one worse than the NFL.
It's unbelievable. It's sad. It really, really is sad. But you know what, though? It's cold comfort. And I was having this discussion with somebody else the other day. Just as a side note on all of that, in this century, in the 21st century that we're in, there have only been 5 AFC teams out of the 16 that have gone to back-to-back AFC championship games in this century. That being the Patriots, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Jets. So you can hang your hat on that, if for nothing else. But Rex is long gone, so that's...
Yeah, but how many of those other teams lost both times?
None of them. They won 1 Super Bowl.
Okay.
They won. So, they at least they won Super Bowls. But I was going to say they at least won one of the AFC championship games. So
yeah,
there's that.
So on that elite list of elite teams, the Jets are on the bottom.
This is true. But at least they're in 5th place if you want to look at it like that. So
yeah, okay, that's fine. Bottom 20%.
There you go.
Here's the thing, though, and this is what really worries me, is that who knows if it's going to get any better. You know, I have nothing against Todd Bowles, personally.
Right. He's done a great job down in Tampa with that defense. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's what he's good at. He's not a great hire for a head coach, and he got 4 years.
Yeah.
So who knows what is going to happen with Adam Gase?
Adam Gase makes you want Todd Bowles back, though, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Well, it makes you want anyone who's actually a good coach.
You know what? I mean, yeah, I pretty much.
Like McCarthy, it was either a money thing. I would have thought it was a control thing.
I thought it was a control thing myself.
Except that didn't Gase get kind of the control that I thought McCarthy would have wanted? Or maybe McCarthy wanted to be. I guess McCarthy wanted to be the GM too.
Yeah, I think he wanted both, but and they were, they were all about Mike McCagnon, and then Adam Gase went in there and undermined Mike McCagnon. Now you got Joe Douglas. So
yeah, but I mean, this is just the ownership and the regime, and just the carousel and the John Idzik debacle, and they just can't get it right.
No,
they just can't seem to get it right. So here's my first question of my list of questions, which is right now at 2. Who wins first, the Jets or the Giants?
Who wins first?
Who gets a win first?
Who gets a win first? Well, let's see. The Jets are playing the Colts in Indianapolis.
Yep.
And the Colts just beat up on Minnesota last week. They're 1-1.
Although that's not necessarily an indicative of them being particularly good, because Minnesota just does not look good.
They don't. It's not indicative of that. But they did look decent. Rivers looks pretty good. He doesn't look like he did 15 years ago, but who does, though, really?
And, of course, as we were saying, the Giants are hosting.
The Giants are hosting the 49ers.
Third-string 49ers team.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Giants are actually going to win this week. They're home. The 49ers have, again, a depleted team. They have a lot. They have, 4 or 5 starters are out. They're starting 2 of the starting defensive linemen. Their quarterback. Their starting running back. The Giants will probably get the win first. Although it wouldn't shock me to see the Giants and the Jets both win the same day. That would not shock me. Stranger things have happened. You would look at the Jets and what they've done over the last couple of weeks, and what the Giants have done over the last couple of weeks. Or I'm sorry, what the Colts have done over the last couple of weeks, and say, there's no way the Jets are beating the Colts in Indy. But stranger things have happened. You can attest to that. You've seen strange things. When the Jets come up against a team that they should lose to, especially when it's just a probably lose to. When it's a team that they should lose to, they usually lose. But when it's a team that they should probably lose to, they win, or at least they have a chance to. So
I don't see it this week. I still think the Giants have been close in both of their losses. I mean, neither one of those games was as close as the score indicated.
No,
but they were still, in it. They weren't down by 25 in the middle or the last 5 minutes of the third quarter. I think the Giants are going to get a win first. I don't think it's going to be this week, though. I think the Giants have to learn how to play without Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Who's the guy they got?
Devontae Freeman. He was
Freeman.
He was the Falcons running back for several years.
He's pretty good, right?
He's not Saquon Barkley, but he's no slouch. His production has diminished over the years, but he's still a solid back. We'll see what happens.
He's a solid back, but he's not. They're going to be a pass first team, and San Francisco, as far as I know, is still a pretty decent secondary.
Yeah, their secondary as well. Richard Sherman's still out, if I believe, right?
Jones should have more time to pass.
Right.
With half the defensive line hurt.
If Bosa was playing this week, the Giants have absolutely no chance because Daniel Jones is going to wind up on his ass most of the day, and there's going to be at least 2 or 3 fumbles there. So,
but that's it, right? That's a real. But if Freeman, doesn't really give them much, and they become a one-dimensional team, I don't think that bodes well for them. But again, they can improve. I just don't think it's going to be a win for either of these two New York teams this week.
I'll go with you on that one, but I will say that the Giants have a better shot of winning this week than
I think the Giants have a better shot at winning, and I think they'll get a win first amongst the two teams, but I don't think either one of them wins this week.
Gotcha. What's your second question?
Oh, I don't know yet.
All right, well, while you mull that over, just want to bring up the fact that a couple of interesting other picks from last week. Wow, I mean, did you see Justin Herbert with the Chargers? He looked good.
I didn't see the game, but I saw the written kind of recap, and that looks like a pretty good pick. I mean, you don't want to put too much into one performance.
No, of course not.
If you're talking about guys coming out, I mean, certainly he looked good, and Joe Burrow looked good as far as rookie QBs go. So
Joe Burrow definitely looked good, yeah.
But I don't know who did Cincinnati play?
They played the Browns.
Yeah. Okay. So that actually was a pretty entertaining game.
It was a very entertaining game.
I didn't see it. I heard guys talking about it on the radio. It turned out to be a pretty interesting and entertaining game between the cellar dwellers.
I got to tell you though, I mean, between as far as the Browns go, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, their running backs are dynamic. I mean, they're really, granted they were playing the Bengals.
A lot of talent.
They were playing the Bengals. I mean, let's call it what it is. But they look good. They do look like a decent tandem back there. Definitely, probably one of the better, if not the best, tandem set of running backs in the NFL. I mean, there are better running backs, but as far as tandem running backs go, they notched that level up a little bit. But no, Burrow looked really good. Burrow looked like he's been in the NFL for a while. He does not look like he's a rookie quarterback. He looks seasoned in 2 games. It's crazy to say that, but he does.
Let's just hope the organization, gives him some people around him and actually tries to build upon the success.
They really need to. I mean, AJ Green is 135 now, so I mean they probably need to look into getting another wide receiver on the team.
Yeah, he's like who's the guy? What was I thinking? Lofton.
Yeah.
James Lofton played till he was 41. Or at least it seemed that way. Just kind of hung around. But yeah, they give him some tools and build on it, and maybe. I mean, not that they ever had a huge period of former glory, but
Right.
Cincinnati is not without any success.
No, I mean they went to 2 Super Bowls in the '80s. I mean it's been forever and a day since then, but still they went to 2 Super Bowls in the '80s. Two different quarterbacks. I mean, hey, you know what? Chris Collinsworth has been doing Sunday Night Football and everything else for many, 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 many years now. He was still playing when Cincinnati went to both of those Super Bowls. So, yeah, it's been quite a while, but
It'd be nice to see the kid get some help
it would be nice to see
from
him
the
get help.
organization.
Absolutely.
Couple of quick hits here. Drew Brees. Thoughts? It's really too early to say anything about anybody, but he has not looked good.
He has not looked good. No.
Is this the beginning of the end for Drew Brees? I guess that's my second question.
I think my take, Drew Brees looked decent the first week. He did not look Drew Brees-esque, if you will, but he looked decent, solid enough for the game they were playing in Week 1 against the Bucs. And the Bucs had a good defense, and I mean, Brady is still Brady, as the battle of the ageless quarterbacks, I suppose, if you want to call it that. But he looked
outplayed by Derek Carr this week.
He definitely got outplayed by Derek Carr.
And Carr has that ability to kind of pop up. Look, the Raiders seem to be revitalized in Vegas, but Carr has that ability, and he has these games where he just sort of shows you the brilliance that flashes of the brilliance that people sort of expected from him when he was drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know whether he can continue it or not is another question. But I tend to think, look, Brees is on the downside. I mean, if he's 41, Tom Brady's 43, I think.
Yes.
If it wasn't for Brady, we'd be going, Brees, what the heck is he doing even in the league at 41 years old?
Right. Brady's leaving the door open for everybody else to stay in longer is what he's doing. So
yeah. I mean, when you're chasing the GOAT, and you're like, I got to play at least 2 more years to play till the same age as Brady. I guess it's incentive, but this might be the beginning of the end. But again, it's too early to really.
It's too early to tell. I you know what? Anything can happen. It can change. He could have just had a bad day. Like I said, he looked solid enough in Week 1. Week 2, he definitely got outplayed by David Carr. He looked decent in the beginning of the game, but it just didn't continue throughout the game. It just was not that. And he's got I mean they're home, but he's got Aaron Rodgers. More on that game later. But he's got Aaron Rodgers coming into the stadium down in New Orleans.
Looking very, very good.
And looking ridiculous. Yeah, more on that game later. But, I mean, he could be looking at a 1-2 start, And I personally think that no matter what happens, I'm sure he obviously wants to win his second Super Bowl and go out on top. But something tells me that, barring anything unforeseen, a really good run, and he just misses it again, and he's revitalized by the end of the season, which could very well happen because that normally does happen to Drew Brees. But barring something that in that effect, I think you'll see Drew Brees retire after this year, one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, look, and if that happens, you really kind of look back at getting screwed at the playoffs the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And you go, oh man! But if horrendous call, you've got to put it right in the top 3, I think, of worst calls ever. Maybe a tie with a lot of others. The non-pass interference call a couple of years ago that knocked him out, right, against Rams, I guess it was.
Those are Rams, yeah.
And then, they changed the rule, and then they still get screwed over the next year. And you go, boy, if Brees could have gone maybe to just one more Super Bowl, although I think we talked about this before, he'll definitely get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But if he retires this year, and just kind of this is the end for him, he's going to feel doubly bad for getting kind of screwed twice, that whole team, but especially Drew Brees.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. He should have went to, and even if they didn't win him, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, last year I don't think they were beating the Chiefs, and they certainly
no, I don't think so.
And I don't think they were beating the Patriots the year before. So, but hey,
well, but just maybe getting in there one more time. All right. Let's just go back to the AFC East. Obviously, the Jets and the Dolphins are not good.
No.
We talked in the long teaser about that division being Buffalo's to lose.
Right.
I sort of hedged my bet by saying, yeah, I kind of agree with that, but you have to take it away from New England. Now, obviously, I don't think they can continue the same sort of offensive presence. You're going to get Cam Newton killed if you keep running him that much.
He's got three more games if you keep that up.
Yeah, but he's looking pretty good, and they did lose this past week, but they were stopped on a short run. They were right there. They would have won the game if they'd gotten into the end zone.
Yeah,
and New England, look, we know that Cam doesn't have any weapons around him, but you've got arguably the greatest coach to ever coach the game. Newton is rejuvenated, and it's not going to stay the same. They're going to find somebody on waivers. They're going to make a trade. They're going to pull somebody out of a hat, and they're going to find someone who's either going to run the ball or going to turn into a great receiver, because that's what Belichick does. He gets the most out of players that you may have never even heard their names. And the Patriots are going to get better. So I think for the time being, they're going to be chasing Buffalo for the conceivable rest of the season as far as the division title goes. But listen, one misstep and Jared Allen misses a couple games, and you might have the Patriots ended up winning this division anyway.
This is true. I definitely still think it's Buffalo's to lose. They keep playing like they're playing. Hey, they're playing ridiculously good football right now.
Yeah. One thing about that, though, who did they play?
This is true. I was just going to say they only play the Jets and the Dolphins. Let's see what happens this week. But
yeah, but Josh Allen does look really, really good. Other quick things. Anything you want to say about Brady in Tampa Bay?
Just
give him a little more time.
Yeah, he's an old man. I mean,
it's hard to judge, right?
It's hard to judge. It really is. I honestly, you put weapons around Cam. I think that the Patriots can actually do something. I think the Bucs can, but I don't know how far that'll take them. I don't think either of them are getting close to the Super Bowl by any means. But
no, I don't think so.
It's possible they both get into the playoffs to actually drive that intrigue. Into I wonder what would happen if but
right.
But it's never going to happen. Both teams are the Bucs are a decent team. They got weapons.
They're solid.
They're a solid team. They're not they're not the Packers. They're not. That's the problem though. They're not the Packers. They're not the Seahawks. But they're a solid team. So, if they're right there, sure. Can they beat them in a playoff game? Absolutely. It depends on where the playoff game is and who, what.
Yeah. Well, right. You get hot at the right time.
Exactly.
You get a lucky bounce. You get a nice tip, and the game can turn.
Yeah, you keep the game close. You get the ball last. You can win the game, and that's really what it boils down to.
Yep, that's exactly right. That's how you win Super Bowls.
That's exactly.
NFC East, Philly. What is it? Just a bad offensive line? Is that the secret to their problems or the key to their problems? Because they have looked absolutely terrible. Carson Wentz has looked absolutely terrible, and it doesn't take long for the kind and generous and good-hearted people of Philly to turn on a player and or a team. Although they will love their Eagles forever, they will mercilessly boo them.
Oh, please.
And Carson Wentz, if he doesn't get it together, will be persona non grata in that city.
Absolutely. It takes about 3.5 seconds for Philly to turn on their team. And, they'll love them forever, but yeah, they make me look like I'm all smiles and happy rainbows and sunshine on Sundays with the Giants. But it's crazy what's going on. You didn't think that would be happening, but I think it has a lot to do with the offensive line, yeah.
This seems to be the year of the lousy offensive line.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does.
Does that potentially open the door for the New York Football Giants? Can they figure it out enough? Or are we going to is Philly going to get it together? If they don't, are the Cowboys going to run away with it?
I wouldn't be shocked to see the top. Well, the Cowboys are going to be at the top of the division. They just are because they have the weapons and they have Mike McCarthy, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. Are they getting far? Probably not. They've I certainly, as a Giants fan, hope not. But are they? Do I think they're going to get far? No. But they're going to be at the top of the division. I think Washington could be your second place team in this division this year. And granted, it's based on one game against the Eagles, but
it's tough. I mean, they got shellacked by Arizona. Kyler Murray, another young man who's looking pretty NFL ready and savvy.
Absolutely, and
even at a young age.
And I don't think that was more. I don't think that was Washington just being a bad team and letting the Cardinals shellac them. I think that was the Cardinals being a solid playoff team. I do. I think they're right there. The NFC West is an amazing division right now. I think, it's quite possible you might even see the 49ers at the bottom of that division this year, depending on the injuries and everything else, obviously, that taken into account.
All right, last quick hit from me from the NFL. Have the Falcons cemented their reputation as one of the biggest choke artists in the history of the game?
Yes.
I watched that. I did not see it live. I heard about it, and it left me, when I heard the description of it, it left me puzzled. And I went, what actually happened here? I have to look. And so I looked up and I saw the video, and I went, and I'm a Cowboys fan. That's my NFC team. Jets number one overall, but as far as a second team that I root for, it's the Dallas football Cowboys. I fell in love with them when they were America's team in the 70s. I admit it. Go ahead, trash me, make fun of me. Romo, whatever.
I've done it before, and I'll do it later, but go ahead.
That was an amazing. What Falcons? Hey, what were you doing? I feel bad. I feel bad for them, but I also kind of like, you got to learn from your mistakes, boys.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And that onside kick, I mean, I don't know what those.
It's like the ball hypnotized.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they don't have to wait for the ball to go 10 yards. Only Dallas did. Fall on the damn ball. Why were you watching the Dallas player watch the ball? You're just waiting until he was able to get it at 10 yards and then tackle him so he didn't run? That didn't make any sense.
Maybe they want to give him at least a shot at getting it. For fairness sake, I don't know.
That's
just a huge, huge brain fart. You just can't make – and it's such a shame because, again, they've looked pretty good. But then when it comes down to just one of the most baffling plays ever. Do you want to do some picks?
Yeah, let's do some picks.
All right. What are we going to do? We're going to pick the locals? Oh, no, the night games?
Let's pick the locals and the night games. We're going to do the Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. The locals we pretty much already did. We both have resigned ourselves to the fact that neither team is going to win this week, although we both said that the Giants do stand a better chance of beating the 49ers than the Jets home than the Jets do of beating the Colts on the road. So we can leave that at that. But let's pick the night games. Let's pick the Thursday, Sunday night, and Monday night games. So Thursday night we have Dolphins at the Jaguars. The 0-2 Dolphins versus the 1-1 Jaguars. Jaguars are home.
I'll take the Jags.
You're taking the Jags?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins will get a little bit better over the course of the season. That's not really going out on a limb. Most teams get a little bit better. But they suck bad.
Yeah, they do.
And the Jaguars, they're kind of I don't know anything about them. They're kind of a mystery. So I'll pick them.
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to say that the Dolphins actually figure out a way to score a little bit more than they have been scoring in the last couple of weeks, and hold the Jaguars in the interim to a little bit of a lower score. I think it'll be a close game, but I think the Dolphins will win.
All right. What else do we have?
Sunday night we have the Packers and Saints. The Packers are 2-0. The Saints are 1-1. The Saints are home.
I'll let you pick that one first.
Well, I'm going to go with, as you said, you are a Jets fan, bar none, but your second team is the Dallas Cowboys. I'm a Giants fan, bar none, but my second team is the Green Bay Packers. I will be a homer in that particular game and also be a little bit of a realist and look at the way the Saints have played, the fact that Michael Thomas is still out, the fact that Drew Brees isn't what he is, and the fact that Aaron Rodgers obviously has something to prove this year. And the way he's playing, it's as good, if not better, than one or both of his MVP years. So I'm definitely taking the Packers on the road.
Yeah. Do you know what is Rodgers' contract situation? Do you know that offhand?
I don't. I believe I don't think it's up this year, but I think he's just seeing the handwriting on the wall with them signing Love out of the in the first round of the draft. It was the first round, right? They took him in first round.
Yeah.
And he's seeing the same dynamic as him and Favre back in the day. So
yep. And then listen, and that's the way the business is.
Sure.
It's what have you done for me lately? Although it seems a little bit premature.
Right.
This year, I think for him is just one big middle finger to the organization. You should have waited a year, basically. I think is what he's going to go out there and try and prove. So, boy, I would like to say, New Orleans is going to get this one together. They're at home. Breeze is going to rally a little bit, but I don't think it's going to happen. I got to go Green Bay as well.
All right.
And then Monday?
Monday is the I'm going to say the
Baltimore
AFC Championship game halfway, if you want to call it that way. Chiefs, 2-0 Chiefs versus the 2-0 Ravens in Baltimore. You take it this time.
Let me see. Now, the Chiefs needed a last-second field goal to win last week, correct? I think I remember that.
They did in overtime. They needed to get into overtime first, tie it up, and then they got into overtime and won it.
Right.
And won it. And hey, you know what? Butker kicked 3 50-plus yard field goals in a row. If you, I don't know whether you did see it or not.
Only the last one counted.
This is true. Yeah, 53-yarder, and then it was a false start, so it was a 58-yarder, and then he iced him, and then another 58-yarder.
I mean, that is a guy who is either fire poker hot, or he is made of ice.
Yeah, I think
icing just doesn't work on it. I think it's the latter.
I think it's the latter.
Like, well, okay, I'll kick it. Boom, we're done. Wait, what? False start? That's 5 yards longer. Okay, I'll kick it. Wait, what? No, we gotta do it again. All right, I'll do it again. Yeah.
Well, that
ice water.
Totally ice water. That first one he kicked, the 53-yarder, the way that ball was traveling, it was still going straight when it went through the higher end of the uprights. I think that thing would have been good from 65-plus yards.
Yeah, that might have been a. What's his name? The guy with half a foot. He's not the record holder anymore.
That was Dempsey, Tom Dempsey.
Yeah.
Jason Elam tied it at 63, and Matt Prater broke it. It's 64 yards is the record now.
Good call. Very good. See, this is stuff. I forget stuff. KC, they looked mortal, and
they did.
As usual, though, they turned it on when they needed to, and that is the beauty of Pat Mahomes. I'm gonna take Baltimore.
You are.
Yeah, I think I think KC is and we talked about this before too. It's largely the same team as last year, but it's tough to keep it going. And everybody's gunning for you, and everybody's had an off season to figure out how to beat you. And you're the Super Bowl champions, and they're still great, and still it's theirs to lose as far as getting to the Super Bowl. I think we agree on that.
We definitely agree on that. Yes.
But I think Baltimore is getting better. They're learning, too. They have extra time. This is a new season, and I think they're going to win this one.
That's interesting.
We're not picking against the spread, right?
No, straight up.
Okay.
I tend to agree with you, but I still say that somehow that Mahomes magic, I think it was just a down week. I think it was a new rookie quarterback in Herbert coming in,
right,
and them maybe screwing around with the defense a little bit. Yeah, I think the Chiefs actually bounced back. I mean, here's the thing. I look at the way the Chiefs played the Texans in week 1. I look at the way the Ravens played the Texans in week 2. I think the Chiefs had a little bit, maybe not much, but a little bit better of a game against the Texans than the Ravens did the first week, than the Ravens did against them the second week. And you got to remember the Ravens got their first win against the Browns. So, and they just annihilated the Browns. But again, they were home, and it was the Browns. So,
which could be true of a lot of teams.
This is very true.
They might get their first win against the Browns.
Yeah, I mean, the first few weeks, you don't really see a shakeout in who wins and who loses. Did I firm that up when I said that? By the way, that I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, going. All right, so we agree 49ers, Colts, Green Bay. We differ. You got Miami, I got the Jags, you got the Chiefs, and I got the Ravens.
That's correct.
All right, so here's what I think we'll do, if you think it's a good idea. Heads will be the home team, tails will be the away team.
That works for me. Heads is home, tails is away.
So I'm going to flip for the Thursday night game, and that's Miami against Jacksonville. And it came up. Oh, that was a terrible flip. All right, let me give you a big one here.
Do another flip.
There we go. Came up tails.
Dolphins.
So he goes with Miami.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up is what?
Let's finish the night games out, and then we'll do it together. So Packers, Saints.
So we got Packers and the Saints. Saints are at home. And he's going with Green Bay.
He's going with Green Bay, so Packers.
Smart cookie.
Look at that.
And then Monday night, KC at Baltimore. Baltimore at home. And he agrees with me. Well, the coin does.
Well, the coin agrees with me.
So. Picking the Ravens.
There you go.
And then Giants are hosting San Francisco.
Giants are home, so the quarter says.
Quarter says the Giants.
Wow. Quarter's picking against us.
All right. And then the Jets against whoever.
Colts.
Indy's home in that one, right?
Indy's home in that one.
Yeah, he's picking the Colts.
He's picking the Colts. All right.
All right, so we agree. We all agree on the Colts. We all agree on Green Bay. He's the outlier on the Giants. I'm the outlier on Miami, Jacksonville, and you're the outlier. You're the lone man taking KC.
Taking KC. You got to love KC. I mean, hey, we're Mets fans.
They're probably going to win.
We're Mets fans, and Mahomes' father pitched for us. So, come on.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
All right. Speaking of the Mets, how much time we have here?
Oh, we got a little bit more.
I don't know what to say about the Mets.
You can say what you want about the Mets.
I haven't been paying that much attention. What did DeGrom have the other night? 14 strikeouts?
DeGrom had a lot of strikeouts the other night, and he lost. It's a typical DeGrom start. I mean, what do you really want from it? That's what it really boils down to.
Will he win the Cy Young?
I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. When it comes right down to it, his numbers are right on board with. I think it's coming down to they've thrown Yu Darvish in there as a name for the NL Cy Young. I think it's coming down to DeGrom and Trevor Bauer with the Reds. And his numbers are comparable with Trevor Bauer's. They are a couple numbers on Trevor Bauer's are incrementally better. A couple numbers on DeGrom's are incrementally better. But
I think Bauer doesn't have as many starts, though, right?
Bauer has one less start. I think he's going to wind up with one less start. But you got to remember, the NL East is actually surprisingly tough, or at least tougher than the NL Central. And since 40 of the 60 games that both teams played this year were against the NL Central and NL East, respectively, you know what? I mean, there's got to be a little bit of that taken into account too for his Cy Young candidacy. I said before when you and I were talking pre-teaser that there are, and you mentioned it too, there are a lot of people out there. There are certain people out there that will want to not see him get a third Cy Young in a row just because it's his third Cy Young in a row.
Right.
But I think he's deserving of it. Do I think he's going to get it? No, I think Trevor Bauer's going to get it. That's my pick.
Now, do you think will that be because legitimate feelings that Bauer deserves it? Because it will be more of that, or will it be more because of bias against DeGrom getting a third in a row?
I think it's a little of both. I think if Trevor Bauer's numbers were a little less and they were right in there and you could make a case for him, but it wasn't DeGrom's third Cy Young, I think DeGrom would get it. I think Bauer's numbers are right in line with DeGrom's. Some of them a little bit better, incrementally, but some of them a little bit better. That shellacking he got a couple of starts ago in the second inning before he left the game, or third inning was it before he left the game, when his ERA rose over 2. And now it sits at 2.14. That hurt him. If that didn't happen, I'd be saying that it's DeGrom's to lose again. But that bringing his ERA over 2, where Trevor Bauer's is still under 2, I think that right there, regardless of the teams he played, I think that's going to get Trevor Bauer the nod. And for that sake, and also for that reason, I should say, and also for the reason that it's DeGrom's third. I said to you before. There are going to be a couple of people that, DeGrom could have went 30-0 in 60 games and had an ERA of .001, and they're going to say no, he doesn't get it because it's his third. Yeah,
there's going to be right. Like we talked about, there's those guys that go, no one gets in unanimously ever. I don't care how great they are.
Exactly. Everybody else voted for him. I'm voting against him just for the fact, just for general purpose.
And if you get a handful of those guys, then. That can, they don't realize, if they don't collude, literally, if they don't collude, they don't realize, well, I'm doing it, this guy's doing it, and that guy's doing it, and that guy's doing it. And all of a sudden, you get a guy who obviously should be, carried into the Hall of Fame, losing, however, a dozen first-place votes because of that kind of stubbornness.
Exactly. What's your pick? What do you think? Where do you think he's going with that?
I think DeGrom's going to get it.
You do?
Yeah. I don't think the wins and losses is going to matter much. Right? No. Because nobody is, 20-4 or anything like that.
It hasn't the last couple of years, and it's certainly not going to matter this year because of that.
Right. Certainly not going to matter this year. If you want to talk about who's keeping their team in it as far as starting pitchers go, you could talk about Darvish, obviously, and Bauer, I guess. It's got a 500 record, I think, right? Is it?
I believe he does.
Again, not that it really matters, but I think, if you take each of those pitchers off the team, which team is going to fare the more worster? Without, and you can say, well, the Mets wouldn't make it. They're not making it anyway. They're not making it with him, so he's not the difference maker.
Right.
But if he wasn't there,
they'd be even that much further down.
And again, they don't score any runs for him, and so he ought to have more wins than he has. But they'd be unwatchable.
Yeah, they would be unwatchable. Yeah, you know what? I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I agree with your cynicism.
Yeah, I think that's.
But I'm going to pick DeGrom anyway.
I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. Are you ready to jump on the San Diego Padres bandwagon with me?
I could be convinced to.
They're in the playoffs.
I could be convinced to.
They're in the playoffs. They're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
They're going against the Dodgers. No one likes the Dodgers.
Who likes the Dodgers?
There's 2 people in L.A. who like the Dodgers. And a couple guys, a couple of 98-year-olds in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn, yeah, exactly.
San Diego, man, it's a popular bandwagon. Jump on. They're fun. They bash home runs. They find ways to win. They got cool uniforms. Who else you going to root for in the National League?
This is true. I don't...
Cubs, please.
No, not happening.
Yeah, they won. We don't have to root for them anymore. Dodgers, no.
No, not happening.
Can't root for the Braves.
No, that's enough.
You root for anyone else in the East.
No, you don't root for anybody in the East. I might be convinced to. We'll have to discuss that more once everything's solidified next week. I think that'll be a good tipping point baseball-wise next week to talk about, and we can even bring Harry Lugnuts into that fold with since he lives not too far away from Coors Field, out in Denver, out there, and he might shed some light. Although, even though he does live not too far away from Coors Field in Denver, he is a staunch Yankee fan. So he will definitely give us his Bronx take on things as well. So next week we'll talk more about the Padres, possibly bandwagon, and who else is in the playoff picture for that. And we'll talk more about hockey, and we'll talk. We'll see what the hockey playoffs and the basketball playoffs are at that point in time.
Just real quick, I like the Lightning. Why not?
Why not?
The hell with Dallas. And boy, Miami. Would love to see Miami in the finals. How do you root for Dallas? Who's the Dallas Storm? Dallas hockey?
Yeah,
those things don't go together.
There's no hockey in Dallas. There's no crying in baseball. There's no hockey in Dallas.
They were Minnesota, right?
They were Minnesota. Yeah, they were the.
They didn't even change the name.
They took the north. They took the north off. So
the star fits for Dallas too, right?
Right. They were the North Stars in Minnesota. They moved to Dallas, took the North off Stars. Yeah.
Hockey in Dallas. Dallas is like in the middle of nowhere. There's not even any water near Dallas.
They have to import the ice.
Yeah. So no, let's go with Tampa Bay. Why not? Do we have a minute to talk about number 40?
Yeah, let's do that. I
Forgot to mention at the end of the football segment. So we were talking earlier, just getting ready for the show, and I happened to notice on my phone that Gale Sayers has passed away at the age of 77. You know, I have a friend who he's a sports professional and knows a lot more about sports than I do. He's on the radio, actually. I don't want to say his name, but his philosophy about the Hall of Fame, and this is a guy who knows the stats and knows the teams and all that, so he knows what he's talking about. His philosophy for the Hall of Fame is you say the player's name to him, and it's a knee-jerk reaction, either yep or no. Either he's in the Hall of Fame, he's a Hall of Famer, or should be, or will be, or not. And he says once you have to start really comparing and looking at stats and thinking about it too much, then he doesn't belong in. That's just the way he looks at it. I kind of feel that way about players that you might say are all-time greats. And when you talk about all-time great NFL running backs, I mean, you can say names like Jim Brown, Sweetness, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. I mean, he's the all-time leader. You kind of got to put him in there.
Sure.
However much you want to say, well, that came from longevity, whatever. He's still on top as far as his yards. And then, there's other guys sort of on the fringes and stuff. Dickerson, he was different than anybody before him. He had a different kind of style and stuff.
Yep.
Marshall Faulk has always been just an amazing player. OJ.
Sure.
OJ was like nothing that anybody had seen. If he had stopped to become a movie star, he would have, he might be the guy on top. And then you think about Gale Sayers. But all those guys, for me, that knee-jerk reaction, they're all-time greats. And Gale Sayers, there's no question. And you don't have to – I don't even know what his stats are. I know they're nowhere near the top of the list as far as yards or anything go. I know he had a lot of touchdowns. He didn't play for that long. But
he just missed 5,000 rushing yards. It was 4,956 yards, yeah.
Yeah. But that doesn't matter with Gale Sayers.
No.
To me, that guy – knee-jerk, you say Gale Sayers, all-time great.
Keep in mind he also had over 3,000 return yards, too.
Because he did it all.
Yeah,
he was a specialist in many fields.
Mm-hmm.
And just one of the great human beings as well. Again, I didn't know him personally, but everything I've read about him, he was just a great guy.
Sure, and, absolutely. The Kansas Comet. And
look, I think he led. Did he lead the league in rushing? I think in. I guess it was
twice
69, but after coming back from the injury.
Afterwards, yeah, 66 he led it, and coming back in 69 he led it again.
Yeah, he became more of a power runner because he didn't, kind of have that same lateral movement. He didn't have the same moves. And boy, you think if only we'd had a little bit more of the medical technology that we have now back then.
Yep.
And that was an injury that he could have come back fully from, and then
sure.
He might have been the greatest of all time. I think I say that about a lot of guys.
Career highlights go on and on. I mean, 4-time Pro Bowler, 5-time first-team All-Pro. When he won his second rushing title in '69, he was also the comeback player of the year. Rookie of the year his rookie year in '65. He was on the '60s All-Decade team. He was on the NFL 75th anniversary All-Time team, the 100th anniversary All-Time team last year. it goes on and on.
Yeah, all-time great. Sorry I didn't find out that he's gone.
Yeah, it's such a shame. All right. Okay, folks, we're going to wrap it up now. All right. Like we were saying before, next week on the show, we're going to talk about the baseball playoffs. The seeding will be decided by then. If there's something interesting happening over the weekend with a team or two that weren't going to make it, or we thought were going to make it and are not now, there might be another emergency podcast, so to speak. So keep an eye out for that. We'll announce anything that we're going to do with that. But other than that, next week, got a lot to talk about. Obviously, week 3 coming up, starting tomorrow night with Miami and Jacksonville, the battle of the Florida Turnpike, as it were. And then we got plenty of football to talk about. We got, like I said, baseball playoffs, basketball and hockey. We'll see where we're at that point. We got a bunch of new segments that we're going to introduce into the show with Harry Lugnuts coming on next week with us. You guys should look forward to that. Like I said, again, the website is logerroom.com, LEGERROOM.com. And, of course, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are all at The Logger Room. This was a good first podcast. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, listen, the regular sports scene was dominated by the NFL.
Sure.
A little bit. But, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Pretty good. Listen, we're getting our feet wet doing this, and we'll improve. And I promise next week I will learn the name of a San Diego Padre.
Fernando Tatis?
Junior,
yes, of course.
There we go. See? I'm a fan.
Hey, there you go.
All right.
All right, folks. We'll wrap it up. Folks, thanks for listening. Definitely pay attention to anything upcoming. We'll post it on Facebook. Pay attention to anything that's going to pop up between now and next week. And, of course, every Wednesday night, we're going to be recording our podcast. We'll do our video one first on Facebook. Check it all out. And we're glad you're listening to us. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Peace.
And a woman in a jumpsuit throws her a grapefruit. By George.